Live from New Delhi, you're watching the India News and India's Voice to the World. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next hour. Strongest words yet from the US President warning Israel. Biden declares US won't supply weapons if ground operations in Rafah initiated, holds back delivery of high-plate munitions. Russia launches massive attacks on Ukrainian energy infrastructure facilities. 3 thermal power plants badly damaged. Airstrikes cause blackouts in multiple regions. Rain fury returns to add to misery of flooded southern Brazil. Death toll reaches 100 as search and rescue operations interrupted by fresh storms. Security forces neutralized major threat in Kashmir. 3 terrorists, including wanted LET terrorist Basit Dar, killed in Kulgam. And the Olympic flame arrives in France amid tight security. The flame will travel around France and 6 overseas territories before arriving in Paris for the opening ceremony on 26th of July. On to the details now. The US President Joe Biden has said he will halt US weapons shipments to Israel if Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu orders a large-scale operation in Rafah. In an interview on Wednesday, Biden said that the US was still committed to Israel's defense and would supply Iron Dome rocket interceptors and other defensive arms, but added that if Israel goes into Rafah, US will not supply the weapons and artillery shells used. Rafah is the last major Hamas stronghold in Gaza. Biden said he did not consider Israel strikes a full-scale invasion as they have not struck population centers. US has been working with Arab states that are prepared to rebuild Gaza and help with the transition to a 2-state solution following the war between Hamas and Israel. When asked about 2,000-pound bombs sent to Israel, Joe Biden confirmed that the United States has applied these to Israel but has now paused sending it in its war against Hamas. The United States is by far the biggest supplier of weapons to Israel, and it accelerated deliveries after the October 7th Hamas-led attacks. In 2016, the US and Israeli government signed a third 10-year memorandum of understanding that provides $38 billion in military aid over the 10 years, $33 billion in grants to buy military equipment, and $5 billion for missile defense system. Last month, the US Congress approved $26 billion in additional funding for Israel. And now let's understand what bombs were blocked by the US. One shipment consists of around 907 kilograms bombs and around 771 kilogram bombs. Shipments involve Boeing-made joint direct attack munitions, which convert dumb bombs into precision-guided ones, as well as small diameter bombs. SDB-1 is a precision-guided glide bomb that packs 250 pounds of explosive. Shipment was part of an earlier approved shipment to Israel. It is not part of the recent $95 billion supplementary aid package passed in April. Also, now let's understand why is the US blocking these bombs. The US is reviewing near-term security assistance in the context of unfolding events in Rafah. It reiterated that Israel shouldn't launch a major attack into Rafah without accounting for and protecting the civilians. The US decision was taken due to concerns about the end use of the bombs and the impact they could have in dense urban settings. And now let me quickly tell you about when was the decision made and was Biden involved in it. US officials said that the decision was made last week, in which Biden was directly involved. Well, Israel announced its intentions to carry out a major operation in Rafah in February this year. This met backlash from the international community, including from Israel's largest military supplier, United States. On February 12, the U.S. first voiced concern, saying civilians who are packed into Rafah in the Gaza Strip are exposed and vulnerable and must be protected. President Biden did not talk about any consequences but urged their protection. However, by March, the U.S. hinted at considering conditioning military aid to Israel if it were to invade Rafah. They also issued its strongest public warning till then, terming any such attempt in Rafah would be a mistake. On March 19th, Biden, in a phone call when Netanyahu asked him to send a team to Washington to discuss ways to target Hamas without a major ground operation in Rafah. On April 5th, the two leaders spoke again, during which Biden stressed Israel must implement steps to address civilian harm and the safety of workers and work towards a ceasefire to bring hostages back home. On May 5th, the U.S., expecting Israeli invasion, indicated to put a hold on the shipment of ammunition. And now, on May 8th, U.S. officials are talking of a hinge point in the relationship in which this suspended arms package could be just the first manifestation, depending on how Israel now acts in Rafah. And Israeli women rallied in Tel Aviv on Wednesday, demanding the release of around 130 hostages still held after 6 months in Gaza by terrorist group Hamas. This week, Hamas declared it and accepted a ceasefire proposal brokered by Egypt, but Israel rejected the offer, accusing Hamas of altering the terms of the deal. Though the negotiations did not break off and shuttle diplomacy continues, with CIA Chief Bill Burns in Israel on Wednesday to meet Netanyahu. Street demonstrations by families and supporters of hostages still held in Gaza have become a constant fixture, with protesters demanding a ceasefire deal with Hamas to get them back. Others are demanding the government and the Israeli Defense Forces press ahead with the Rafah operation against the remaining Hamas formations holding out around the city.
Yes, for us, every minute there's a little bit hope. Sometimes it makes it even harder because you allow yourself to hope and then you fall again because again it fails. So it's like a roller coaster. It's really, really emotional and ups and downs, and it gets worse and harder every day.
First and foremost, bring them home and ceasefire now are not sentences that are going against each other. They go together. Ceasefire now and bring them home.
Yes.
Well, there's still no sign of a breakthrough in Egyptian-mediated talks between Israel and Hamas, but negotiations are continuing in Cairo. Meanwhile, the director of the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency is reported to have been in Israel meeting Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. In Washington, the U.S. Defense Secretary has publicly acknowledged that the decision to hold up weapon shipments to Israel is a response to its plans for a large offensive in the Gazan city of Rafah. DD India's Washington correspondent Kate Fisher reports for more.
In the most blunt public statement to date that the US does not approve of its ally Israel's plans to invade Rafah, US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin told a Senate committee that the US has paused one shipment of high-payload munitions. He said that from the beginning the US has been clear that Israel shouldn't launch a major attack into Rafah without accounting for and protecting the civilians that are in the battle space. The public nature of his comments increases the strain on the US-Israeli relationship, and it signals the kind of leverage that the US can use to influence Israel's conduct in the war. But Republicans have condemned the move, arguing that the US is contradicting the will of Congress after lawmakers pass more than $14 billion in funding to help Israel in its fight against Hamas. Secretary Austin argued that the Biden administration's commitment to Israel's security is still, quote, ironclad, and that the US would, quote, continue to do what's necessary to ensure that Israel has the means to defend itself. Meanwhile, a mid-level Israeli delegation remains in Cairo for ceasefire talks with Hamas, despite a lack of progress. The main sticking point appears to be that Hamas wants a complete withdrawal of Israeli troops from the Gaza Strip, But Israel's leader, Benjamin Netanyahu, says its forces won't stop fighting until Hamas is destroyed and the hostages are released. In Washington, Kate Fisher, reporting for DD India.
And updates now from Russia-Ukraine conflict. Russian missiles and drones struck nearly a dozen Ukrainian energy infrastructure facilities on Wednesday, causing serious damage at 3 thermal power plants and blackouts in multiple regions. Ukraine's Air Force said it shot down 39 of 55 missiles and 20 of 21 attack drones used for the attack. 2 people were injured in the Kyiv region. Some 350 rescuers raced to minimize the damage to energy facilities. 30 homes, public transport vehicles, cars and a fire station. Ukrenco CEO Vladimir Kudryavtsky said that the damage is on quite a large scale. There is a significant loss of generating power, so significant that even imports of power from Europe will not cover the shortage that has been created in the energy system. Russia's defense ministry said it struck Ukraine's military-industrial complex and energy facilities in retaliation for Kyiv strikes on Russian energy facilities. A North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, expressed firm support and solidarity for Russia in his congratulatory message to Russian President Vladimir Putin over Victory Day, which marks the 79th anniversary of the end of the World War II. Russia on Thursday marks the Soviet Union's victory over Nazi Germany in World War II as relations with the West spiraled deeper into crisis over the advance of Russian troops against Ukraine's Western-backed forces. And Russian President Vladimir Putin hosted a summit of the Eurasian Economic Union leaders in Moscow on Wednesday. The EAEU, an economic organization, includes Russia, Belarus, Armenia, Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan as its members. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel, who was in Moscow for the Victory Day parade on May 9th, attended the summit as an observer. And Russia slammed Washington over its recent report on India's context. Russian Foreign Minister spokesperson Maria Zakharova accused the U.S. to destabilize India during Lok Sabha elections. Speaking to media, she said that the U.S. doesn't understand the national mindset and historical context of the development of the Indian state and not respecting India as the state. The Foreign Ministry spokesperson added Washington's actions clearly constitute interference in India's internal affairs. Well, Chinese President Xi Jinping arrived in Budapest on Wednesday, marking the third and the last stop on his first European tour in 5 years. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán and his wife received the Chinese president at the airport. Xi's visit to Hungary marks his first state visit to the European country as China's head of state. The Chinese president is due to meet Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán on Thursday. She's on a state visit to Hungary at the invitation of President Tamás Szijjártó and Prime Minister Viktor Orbán. And the U.S. House of Representatives on Wednesday swiftly defeated an effort by Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene to remove fellow Republican Speaker Mike Johnson from his leadership role. Democrats joined Republicans in a 359-43 vote to protect Johnson's speakership in a bid to avoid a replay of the chaos that occurred in October when Republicans ousted his predecessor, Kevin McCarthy. Earlier, standing flanked by fellow Republican Thomas Massie, Greene criticized Johnson for a string of compromises with Democrats who hold a majority in the Senate.
Johnson is ill-equipped to handle the rigors of the job of Speaker of the House and has allowed a uniparty, one that fuels foreign wars, tramples on civil liberties, and increases our disastrous national debt, to take complete control of the House of Representatives.
And Republican Speaker Mike Johnson on Wednesday called it an attempt to oust him from the job a misguided effort and said he hoped it would be the end of frivolous character assassination.
Hopefully this is the end of the personality politics and the frivolous character assassination that has defined the 118th Congress. It's regrettable. It's not who we are as Americans, and we're better than this. We need to get beyond it.
Well, U.S. House of Representatives Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said on Wednesday that House Democrats would continue to work as agents of change following an overwhelming vote to stop Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene's effort to oust fellow Republican Mike Johnson from his role as Speaker of the House. Jeffries said it was a vote of conscience, adding that it was an effort to stop Greene from plunging the House of Representatives and the country into further chaos.
Our decision to stop Marjorie Taylor Greene from plunging the House of Representatives and the country into further chaos is rooted in our commitment to solve problems for everyday Americans in a bipartisan manner. We need more common sense and less chaos in Washington, D.C.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. In face of an unprecedented drought, Panama's president-elect vows to help fix canal water problems and build major train line. North Macedonia's right-wing opposition won big in parliamentary and presidential elections. And Bolivia launches a festival to mark the International Year of Camelids.
As India decides in the world's largest election,
we help you feel the pulse of the nation.
I am Sakal Bhatt.
I am Shubhendu Ghosh.
This election season, join us on a journey of India.
We are in Assam. This is the tea city of India.
From down south, Tamil Nadu.
Discover the colors of democracy.
Gateway to northeast of India.
Coastal state of Kerala. Watch Poll Pulse on DT India.
Welcome back. You're watching DT India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Moving on, the adult film star pivotal in Trump's hush money trial testifies again this Thursday. Stormy Daniels disclosed details of her alleged romantic involvement with Trump, a claim he refutes. Prosecutors assert the payment for her silence a decade later was improperly labeled as legal expenses. Trump maintains his innocence against 34 felony charges. Reporting from New York, DT India's Sally Patterson covers the latest developments in the ongoing case.
Well, the jury had Wednesday to think over Stormy Daniels' testimony because the court doesn't sit on Wednesdays. But on Tuesday, they heard from the woman who is in some ways at the very centre of this trial. Daniels took to the stand on Tuesday and talked the jury through the relationship she says she had with Donald Trump. She claims to have met the former president in 2006 at a golf tournament in Lake Tahoe. She says Trump then invited her back to his suite for dinner. She wasn't sure whether to go, but she says after speaking to her publicist, she decided it was worth going because her publicist said that it was going to be a good story either way. Now, Daniels says that she went to Trump's hotel suite, went inside and found him wearing just his satin pajamas. She said the two of them had dinner where they discussed her career and the pornography industry more widely. She says she went into the bathroom after they'd eaten, and when she came out, Trump was lying on his bed wearing just his underwear. She says a sexual encounter then took place. Donald Trump has always denied any affair or sexual relationship between the pair of them. Now, the reason that her testimony is crucial to this case is because this trial is looking at an allegation put forward by the prosecution that Donald Trump tried to cover up that affair in a way that wasn't actually legal. The prosecution claims that the way that the money was paid to Stormy Daniels, $130,000 to keep quiet ahead of the 2016 election, was that in itself is not illegal, but they say that the way that Donald Trump then paid back that money to his then lawyer and fixer Michael Cohen was. Trump allegedly filed those expenses as legal expenses, something the prosecution says is incorrect. Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 different felony counts. He's said that this is all a political smear by his opponents designed to try and keep him out of the White House. Sally Patterson in New York reporting for DD India.
While South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol has completed his first 2 years in office. This morning, Yoon held his first news conference in 21 months, which comes after the defeat of his People Power Party in the April 10th vote, prompted calls for a change in his leadership style and policy direction to salvage a presidency not yet at the halfway point. Yoon said his government's efforts to improve people's lives had fallen short. He also announced the formation of a new government ministry to address the country's record low birth rate and fast aging society. And for more on this, we have our correspondent Chris Gilbert joining us from there. Well, Chris, Yoon Suk-yeol's People's Power Party tasted defeat in the April 10th vote. What does it tell us about his position he's holding right now?
Well, it's certainly a chance for President Yoon to get some skeletons out of the closet to address the people of South Korea. He doesn't do it very often. The last one was at the end of his first 100 days in office in August 2022. And he's made the most of the opportunity, as you mentioned, to announce the establishment of a new ministry which is responsible for directly responding to the declining birth rate. South Korea, of course, has the lowest birth rate in the world. It's fallen from 2021 from about 0.8 children per couple to about 0.72. That's lower than even Japan's. He has called it a crisis, and the chief of that new ministry is going to be also the deputy social affairs or the deputy social welfare minister. So they're going to be responsible for labor and education, really across the board, trying to tackle this depopulation crisis. It's also been an opportunity for him to address not just some policy but some scandals, mainly affecting his wife, the First Lady, and a couple of issues there. The first, her allegedly accepting a luxury Dior handbag from a Korean American pastor in 2022. Yoon Suk-yeol has called this unwise conduct and has apologized for it. There's another issue involving the First Lady surrounding an investigation into her allegedly manipulating stocks of the Deutsche Motors company, that's the BMW dealership in South Korea, between 2009 and 2012. On that issue, the president has been addressing reporters following his speech, and he said there's an investigation ongoing, and if that becomes insufficient or does not deliver the results that are satisfactory, then the government may look into it themselves. So as I say, it's been a long time between drinks for the president, addressing the people of South Korea, and a timely opportunity for him following that election defeat to get some issues out in the open.
Also, Chris, the president, as you told us, he held the first news conference in 21 months after taking office. What about the timing? Why he took so long to have that conference?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. And as you mentioned, the PPP, the ruling party, did suffer an enormous defeat to the opposition, their second one in a row for the parliamentary elections just last month. 6 days after that defeat, Yoon Suk-yeol said that, he needs to reevaluate the will of the people and how his company, how his party is responding to that. Officials close to him have been saying that he wants to communicate more to the public through the media. There are significant issues on the table, such as the ongoing doctors' resignations and walk-offs in response to the government wanting to increase medical school seats and opportunities for new doctors to be trained. And look, Yoon Suk-yeol is effectively, as experts are saying, a lame duck with no control over parliament for the rest of his time as president, the rest of his term. And so it is very important, experts are saying, for him to make these kinds of press conferences to remind people of the priorities of the government personally, but also he only became president by a very narrow margin in 2022. Right. So experts are also saying it's very important for him to remind the people who voted for him why they did so in the first place.
Right. Thank you so much, Chris, for that information and update from there. And moving on, Panama's president-elect Jose Raul Molino said on Wednesday he will urge lawmakers to approve a law enabling the Panama Canal to build large water reservoirs in the face of an unprecedented drought that has hit the capacity of the vital waterway. In an interview, Molino said he wants the law which would grant the waterway permission to operate on land needed for the reservoirs to be the first approved under his administration. The canal, he added, needs a solution to the lost revenue linked to adverse climate conditions. Molino also said he wanted to make a major new tourist train, similar to one built in Mexico, a flagship project of his administration. And North Macedonia's right-wing opposition won big in parliamentary and presidential elections on Wednesday. This election saw the Balkan country also elect its first female head of state. The results from the Election Commission showed VMRO-DPMNE held 42% of votes, with 72% of votes counted in the parliamentary poll versus 14% for SDSM, prompting SDSM leader Dimitar Kovacevski to concede defeat. Voters in the Balkan country of 2 million people became frustrated with the sluggish advance of its bid to join the European Union, which was greeted with optimism in 2005 but has since become an emblem of North Macedonia's lost promise. Enduring corruption and slow development have also soured voters against the ruling party. The opposition will likely need to form coalitions with smaller partners to win a majority in parliament. Discussions are expected to take place in the coming days. And some weather news now. Rains return to flooded southern Brazil. More rain and the risk of lightning and stiff winds interrupted rescue efforts and threatened to exacerbate a catastrophe that has already killed at least 100 people and left over 1 lakh seeking shelter. The floods that began last week, caused by unusually heavy rains, have destroyed highways and bridges in the state of Rio Grande do Sul, which borders Uruguay and Argentina. At least 128 people are still missing, the state civil defense authorities said, urging people living close to the Petos Lagoon south of Porto Alegre to leave their homes immediately. Brazil's National Center for Natural Disasters warned that the southern area of Rio Grande do Sul state was under high risk of more flooding, with rainfall expected to restart after a brief hiatus. And also, widespread recent power outages in Mexico were caused by unseasonably hot weather. President Andres Manuel Lopez assured consumers that the national grid has sufficient generating capacity going forward. Around 20 of Mexico's 32 states were affected by rolling power outages. Tuesday's power outages struck as large parts of Mexico have also been grappling with severe water shortages. Also, residents across India have been grappling with soaring temperatures as a scorching heat wave grips several parts of the country. Heat wave conditions grew severe in Rajasthan since Tuesday, with most places witnessing a significant rise in the temperatures. Barmer was hottest in the state and a maximum of temperature of 45.9 degrees Celsius yesterday. The Indian Meteorological Department predicts of heat wave conditions very likely to grapple the isolated pockets of West Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Saurashtra and Kutch till the 9th of May. And for more on this, we have our correspondent Tapas Bhattacharya joining us on the heatwave conditions across India. Well, Tapas, with such extreme weather around the globe already, India is also witnessing extreme heat at the moment. What information has been given by IMD? Can you tell us?
Yes, bang on there, Lipaksha, and it's a good morning to you, but it's not that great morning for people of Rajasthan and West Madhya Pradesh. In fact, as per IMD, a fresh heat wave spell is likely over Rajasthan and West Madhya Pradesh during, it will start from today onwards, and it will stay for some days. But there is a respite as per IMD for people over southern peninsular India, the down south people in Karnataka, people in the Hyderabad region. They're expecting much abatement of the heat spell that gripped them in the last few days. Now, as per IMD, wet spell is also expected with the thunderstorm and lightning and over east and southern peninsula from yesterday night. In fact, it started yesterday night and we expect that it to be to continue in the next few days. In fact, as per the latest satellite images that we have been shared, we saw a strong intense convecting clouds and with thunderstorm activity over north interior of Karnataka, some areas of Telangana, Kerala, adjoining Tamil Nadu. Also, it is expected to stay there in some parts of Uttarakhand, coastal Odisha, and Arunachal Pradesh. Remember, though, these are the places where we have seen a lot of activity, especially when it comes to the heat wave conditions, and it was quite rampant. So,
All
in
right.
in that sense, it is quite a it's a respite for people of Odisha, coastal Karnataka, because they were grappling with the with the whole
Yes.
idea, with the whole heat wave condition. Now, just to put it in perspective, yesterday some places over Rajasthan, West Rajasthan to be precise, saw severe heat wave condition. In fact, the temperature passed 46 degrees Celsius in Barmer. That is the highest. In fact, yesterday it was 46 degrees
Right.
Celsius over Barmer. In Ganganagar, for Jaisalmer, it was Jodhpur. It was over 45 degrees. Jodhpur,
Yes.
though, Bikaner, Kota, and Jaipur, it was over 40 to 43 degrees Celsius. So you can see the
All
kind of
right.
temperature that I'm talking about. It's quite high. And that's one of the reasons why red alert as well as orange alert has been
Yes.
sounded in these areas of West Rajasthan.
All right. Thank you so much, Tapas, for all that information so vastly. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Bolivia launched the UN-proclaimed 2024 International Year of Camelids with an exhibition that gathered participants throughout the production chain. The festival's aim is to boost the industry that sustains over 80,000 families in the Andean country to honor the animal's key role in the economy. Sirinat National Park in Thailand gets temporarily closed due to extensive coral bleaching caused by rising seawater temperatures. Marine experts said that the seawater exceeding 31 degrees Celsius is the main cause of coral bleaching and eventual death. Authorities say the closure of the area will reduce human marine activity, which can reduce coral bleaching. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Campaigning intensifies as the fourth phase approaches on 13th May. Rallies being held in full swing. Maldivian Foreign Minister Musa Zami to visit India today. Discussions on bilateral and regional issues of mutual interest.
Hype versus facts. In-depth news and analysis with experts who will help you decide why this election matters. DD India is the main election headquarters with numbers most accurate, data most reliable, and viewership across the platforms. Stay tuned to the Great Indian Election only on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and now let's get you the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India. The fourth phase of India's While the fourth phase of India's Lok Sabha elections is set to be held on the 13th of May, with voters across 96 constituencies in 10 states to cast their ballot. This phase will witness voters in all 25 seats in Andhra Pradesh and 17 constituencies in Telangana, along with other states participating in the electoral process. The build-up to this phase has been intense, with political rallies and campaigns in full swing. And campaigning for the fourth phase of Lok Sabha election scheduled for May 13th gains momentum as political leaders holding rallies and roadshows across the nation. In order to garner support of voters in the favour of party's candidate, Union Home Minister Amit Shah to hold a rally in Bongir, Lok Sabha constituency of Telangana. Bharatiya Janata Party National President JP Nadda to hold public rally in Uttar Pradesh's Chitrakoot in support of candidate R.K. Singh Patel. BJP leader and Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath to hold several rallies in the state. Also, in order to garner support in party's favour, political parties geared up to woo the voters across the country. Samajwadi Party Supremo Akhilesh Yadav to hold public rally in Uttar Pradesh's Lakhimpur constituency. SP candidate Utkarsh Verma contesting from the Lakhimpur seat. Bahujan Samaj Party Chief Mayawati to hold public meeting in Kannauj constituency of Uttar Pradesh. Well, the Election Commission of India has established special polling booths across Delhi to facilitate Kashmiri migrants residing in Delhi casting their votes in person. 4 special polling booths have been established for the community at different locations in the capital for Kashmiri migrants to exercise their right to vote on the polling days during general elections on the seats across Jammu and Kashmir. Senior citizens in North India's Pulwama cast their vote from home in Avantipora. For the first time in India's election history, the Election Commission of India has announced a vote from home option for senior citizens above 85 and persons with disabilities. The initiative was taken in order to increase voting percentage in the general elections. And for more, we have our correspondent Amit Mukherjee joining us from Indore in Madhya Pradesh. Well, Amit, good morning. In phase 4 polls, 8 of the 29 seats will be casting votes. Each constituency presents a unique set of challenges and opportunities. How is the campaigning going on there to entice the voters?
Absolutely, Lipakshi, it's a very electrifying atmosphere out here in Madhya Pradesh, which will be polling in the last phase. I mean, this would be the last phase. In fact, the 4th phase would be the last phase of elections, where about 8 constituencies, parliamentary constituencies are going for polls. Now, very interesting, these all 8 constituencies, they fall in the Malwa region, which is actually the western part of Madhya Pradesh. And primarily, this can be divided into 2 zones, basically a tribal and a non-tribal zone. Now, as far as the non-tribal zones is concerned, the constituencies are Indore, Ujjain, Mandsaur and Khandwa. So here BJP has been traditionally very strong. Now, if we look at the past election records, BJP has been doing extremely well. In fact, if analysis by various people are to be considered out here, BJP is still emerging about in 6 out of the 8 constituencies, BJP is emerging very, very strong. Now, where it faces challenges, the tribal zone, especially the Khargon and the Dhar, constituencies where, Congress has been very, very active. So that is where the challenge for the BJP lies, and it is putting in all its effort in that particular region to ensure that, if you look at the last assembly elections also, so that is where the challenge has primarily come from BJP. So that is where the focus is right now in the tribal zones, and BJP is putting in all its efforts to ensure that things work out well for them.
All right. Also, Amit, what are the major issues there which will shape the political trajectory of Madhya Pradesh?
See, primarily major issues have always been development out here, and looking at what is going to be the future, of developmental, all those projects that have been undertaken. So as far as BJP is considered, they have been kind of talking about development, and to ensure the development continues uninterrupted. That is why they should be brought back to power. Now, Congress is also pitching itself, very hard with the electorates out here, and they are also saying that they want, they are pointing out things which they feel are unfinished out here or untouched, and that those are the things that they are looking at, various tribal issues and areas which they feel have not been developed. I mean, those are the planks that have that Congress is now working on as far as the campaigns out here is concerned. Lipakshi?
All right, Amit, thank you so much for that information from there. And how about a free snack if you perform your duty? Well, you heard it right. To increase the voting percentage in the ongoing parliamentary elections, the central Indian city of Indore has a very tempting offer. DD India correspondent Prasar Bharati finds out more on this.
Gulab Jamun, Jalebi, Poha. Now this is the Indian fast food and sweet. We are in Indore, and when it comes to Indore, Poha is the speciality. It's a quick snack in the morning. But why I am talking about these things? Well, the Association of Chappan, which means 56 in English, have decided that to increase the voting percentage, they have a very cool offer for the voters. You cast your vote, come here, show your finger, and have a free breakfast. Let's talk to the owner and also the shopkeepers, and also talk to some of the voters who are waiting for the opportunity.
We thought that when Indore's people goes out for vote, it may happen that some will lag, some will go late and stand in queues. So it was my plan that at my shop 56 Dukan, people who vote will get free breakfast of Poha Jalebi, so they won't have to worry and may relax. I think it will also encourage people to vote. That's my message and idea behind it.
This is called Poha and it is made of rice. It's a quick snack in the morning. This is dosa, this is from the south of India, and there you have the sandwiches. Now there's a family out here. Let's talk to them and find out what do they feel about this offer. What do you have to say?
The offer is very pretty good because if we vote, we get free food, and which saying that people will vote a lot maybe. And as a young person right now, I will vote for the first time. So it's the glad news because voting for the first time and getting this kind of offer is a lot tempting.
Wow. So you vote for the first time and then you get the reward. Now let's ask the lady of the house, what kind of offer is this?
It's a very cool offer.
It's a very cool offer, and there you see this family is enjoying their snack. So we let them enjoy their snack. And from here in Indore with cameraman Manmohan, this is Vishal Baristo, DT India.
Well, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Maldives, Musa Zamir, is on an official visit to India. Foreign Minister Zamir will meet the External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, for discussions on bilateral and regional issues of mutual interest. Maldives is India's key maritime neighbour in the Indian Ocean region, and Foreign Minister Zamir's visit is expected to lend further momentum to the bilateral cooperation between the two countries. This is his first official visit to India since assuming office. And for more on this visit and the relations between the two countries, we have a correspondent, Meghna Dev, joining us. Well, Meghna, good morning. My first question to you, Maldives and India to discuss bilateral and regional issues aiming to enhance cooperation between the two countries. What all is expected?
Well, a very important visit by the Maldivian foreign minister because this is his first visit. It is his maiden visit after assuming office. And very importantly, in the past few months, we have been seeing a lot is going on between India and Maldives relationship. Recently, just a few days ago, there was a high-level core group meeting. The fourth meeting of the high-level core group took place, in which there was discussions on obviously development cooperation, bilateral relationship, and more. Besides that, one more important thing that the exchange of military personnel with technical personnel for the three aviation platforms that India operates in Maldives, this is being taken up because as the Maldivian side has said that 10th May is the last day for exchange of technical personnel, exchange of military personnel with technical personnel. We definitely know that we have a Dornier 228 maritime aircraft in one of those aviation platforms and two Dhruv HAL helicopters there as well, which is helping in terms of medical evacuation and other important emergency services. Having said that, this is one of the areas which is very important because this meeting is happening just a day before the deadline between Dr. S. Jaishankar and Maldivian Foreign Minister. We also do see that just a few months ago, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi did visit Lakshadweep, there was, the relationship between both the countries did hit a low when the three ministers from the Maldivian government did pass on derogatory comments for Prime Minister Narendra Modi, while they were suspended, and the opposition also slammed the government of after that these ministers were suspended. But there was a lot of controversy all around the issue, and obviously passing derogatory remarks against the Indian leader. While we definitely did see Male and New Delhi, the relationship after this meeting would definitely, there will be a lot of things discussed, while Maldives is also very important maritime partner, as you said, Lipakshi, and also a very important, or we can say a key partner in India's Sagar initiative as well.
All right. Or Megha, also, as you mentioned, the removal of Indian troops from the country was the main election campaign of Mr. Muizzi's party. Last week, as you said, that India and Maldives reviewed the replacement of Indian military from the island nation by May 10th. How perfect is the timing for the visit? It's just a day before.
Yes, absolutely, Lipakshi. You've said it right. It's just a day before the deadline, and that makes the most sense of this visit as well, because this must be one of the agendas that would be discussed between both the foreign ministers. And while there have been earlier, there had been exchange, or we can say a replacement of the military personnel with technical personnel who can operate the aircraft as well as the helicopters. We will definitely have to see if this deadline gets extended or how fast the exchange of the personnel takes place.
All right. Thank you so much, Megha, for that update about the visit. And moving on, 3 terrorists have been gunned down during an encounter in Kulgam district of Jammu and Kashmir. 1 terrorist was killed on Wednesday evening, while 2 others were killed on Tuesday, including a top resistance front or TRF commander. Our correspondent said fresh search operation has ended on Thursday morning, while the identity of the deceased is being ascertained. 2 terrorists, including wanted Lashkar-e-Toiba Basir Dar, were killed in the encounter with security forces on Tuesday. And committed to bring POK back to India. Indian Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar reiterated India's stance to bring Pakistan-occupied Kashmir back to India, saying it is a national commitment. Speaking at an event at Gargi College on Vishwa Bandhu Bharat, he said, people just assume that Article 370 cannot be changed, and this is something that we have to accept. Now, once we changed it, the entire ground situation changes.
370. People just assume 370 cannot be changed, and that, this is something we just have to accept, because the politics of the day had driven it very deeply into public consciousness. Now we see, once we change it, then the entire ground situation changes. So all I can say with respect to POK, that there is a parliament resolution. Every political party of this country is committed to ensure POK, which is a part of India, returns to India. This actually is our national commitment.
Well, earlier on 5th of May, asserting the ground situation, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said that India will never give up its claim on Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, but it won't have to capture it with force because its people on their own would want to be a part of India after seeing the development in Kashmir. And as wildfires continue to devour forest in Uttarakhand, the Supreme Court on Wednesday pulled up the state government, saying that cloud seeding or depending on rain is not an answer to the problem, and the authorities will have to take preventive measures to tackle it. The Uttarakhand government has apprised the Apex Court that up to 0.1% of the forest cover in Uttarakhand was affected by fire incidents, and since November last year, there have been 398 forest fires in the state. Meanwhile, Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami on Wednesday suspended 10 forest personnel and issued directions to initiate disciplinary action against 7 others for their alleged negligence that led to the fire. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. A team of police personnel and a magistrate recovered 45,90,000 rupees from a car in Ramgarh district of Jharkhand during a vehicle check. The static surveillance team handed over the seized amount to the sales tax team. The sales tax department team has informed the income tax department about the matter, and the income tax department will take further action in the matter after investigation. Ramgarh is part of the Hazirabad parliamentary seat, which will vote on the 20th of May. The first batch of pilgrims left from Delhi IGI airport for Saudi Arabia for the Holy Hajj pilgrimage on Thursday. Special arrangements and preparations are in place for the smooth transition of the pilgrims. This year, around 7,000 pilgrims from Jammu and Kashmir are eagerly preparing for the highly anticipated Hajj pilgrimage of 2024. And still to come, indeed, India News Hour. Asian shares subdued ahead of China trade data. And IPL, Mumbai Indians becomes the first team to be knocked out of playoffs race after Sunrisers Hyderabad beat Lucknow Super Giants on Wednesday.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, on to some business news now. U.S. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo said on Wednesday the Biden administration could take an extreme action and ban Chinese connected vehicles or opt to impose restrictions. The department in late February said it was opening an investigation into whether Chinese vehicle imports pose national security risk and accepted public comments through April 30th on the issue. The U.S. Commerce Department is reviewing public comments that were due by April 30th. The White House said in February the commerce probe was being opened because vehicles collect large amounts of sensitive data on their drivers and passengers and regularly use their cameras and sensors to record detailed information on U.S. infrastructure. President Joe Biden has repeatedly said he will take action to prevent a flood of Chinese vehicle imports. And Asian shares were subdued on Thursday as investors awaited China trade data to gauge the health of the Chinese economy, while the yen steadied after 3 days of declines as Japan talked up a potential currency intervention. Late in the day, the Bank of England will decide its interest rate policy with all eyes on the prospects of a June rate cut following the overnight move by Sweden's Riksbank to cut rates, which underlined Europe's divergence from the U.S. Federal Reserve. Investors will be focusing on the U.S. consumer inflation data for April due next Wednesday after 3 straight prints of upside surprises for a better sense of the direction of the Fed's policy. Well, you're watching DD India News. Our time now for some sports news. In Real Madrid's Joselo scored twice in the final minutes as they fought back from the brink of elimination to reach the Champions League final with a dramatic win over Bayern Munich on Wednesday. Real's 2-1 win in the second leg sent them through 4-3 on aggregate in a repeat of their spectacular semi-final comeback win over Manchester City 2 years ago. They saw their opponents take the lead after Bayern substitute Alphonso Davies scored from a counter-attack in the 68th minute. They progressed to the 6th Champions League final in 10 years and will bid for a record-extending 15th title against Borussia Dortmund at Wembley on 1st of June. And in cricket, 5-time champions Mumbai Indians have been eliminated from the Indian Premier League 2024 playoffs race after Sunrisers Hyderabad thrashed Lucknow Super Giants on Wednesday. Inconsistent Mumbai had to rely on the other team's results to keep their playoff hopes alive, but it didn't last long as SRH crushed it alongside LSG in Hyderabad. Held by heads 89 not out of 30 and Abhishek's unbeaten 75 of 28, SRH reached home in just 9.4 overs. Earlier, Ayush Badoni's unbeaten 50 carried the IPL. Rahul led For the Super Giants, Badoni and Nicholas Pooran pushed them forward after they elected to bat first. And Japan's Naomi Osaka looked comfortable in her opening match as she beat Clara Burel on Wednesday to go through to the second round of the Italian Open in Rome. After a close first set, first-time Grand Slam champion Osaka ran out a 7-6, 6-1 winner over her French opponent in a match lasting just under an hour and a half. It was Osaka's first victory over a top 50 player on clay since defeating Victoria Azarenka at the 2019 French Open. Osaka will face Marta Kotsyuk of Ukraine in the second round. And the Olympic flame landed on French soil amid tight security on Wednesday, firing the starting gun on a summer extravaganza of sport. The flame arrived in Marseille after a 12-day trip from Greece on board the Bellum, a 128-year-old 3-masted tall ship. President Emmanuel Macron hopes the sport will showcase the splendors of France and burnish his legacy. The torch was brought to land by France's 2012 Olympic men's 50-meter freestyle swimming champion Florent Menadau, who handed it to Paralympic athlete Nantanin Keita. She then passed it on to Marseille-born rapper Jules, who lit the cauldron in front of an ecstatic crowd estimated at 150,000. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.